In May 1940, Nazi Germany had conquered most of Europe. In 6 weeks, France was falling. Britain stood alone. And Britain needed a different kind of leader. On the 10th of May 1940, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister. He was 65 years old. He had spent 20 years in the political wilderness, warning about Hitler while everyone else preferred not to listen. His moment had finally arrived. The worst moment in British history. Churchill's energy immediately exhausted. AIDS half his age. He worked from the cabinet war rooms beneath Whitehall, a cramped network of tunnels and map rooms, from which he would run the war for 5 years. He refused to sleep there. He slept above ground, in the building above. He would not be seen to hide. 3 days after becoming Prime Minister, Churchill addressed the House of Commons. He offered them nothing easy. "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat." It was the most honest thing a British leader had said in years. The House believed him. Churchill understood the radio the way later leaders understood television. His voice came into every home in Britain. His words were written by nobody else. He crafted every sentence himself. He knew exactly what he was doing, with every word. When the Finest Hour speech went out on BBC Radio at 9 o'clock that evening, an estimated 60% of the British people listened. Families gathered around their sets in the dark. They heard a man who was not telling them it would be easy. He was telling them it would be worth it. On June 4th, 1940, after Dunkirk, Churchill told Parliament what came next. The speech ended. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender." The chamber sat in silence. Then it roared. 4 days after the Finest Hour speech, France formally surrendered to Hitler. The swastika flew over Paris. Every major European democracy was gone. Britain was the last one standing. Churchill refused to notice this as a reason to stop. On May 28, 1940, Foreign Secretary Halifax proposed sounding out Hitler for terms, a negotiated peace. Churchill listened. Then he went next door. Churchill called the full cabinet of 25 ministers. He told them what was being proposed. Then he told them what he thought of it. He said that if they entered negotiations with Hitler, and it came out as it would, that Britain had flinched, the country would be finished. He said he was convinced that every man in the cabinet felt the same. The ministers surged forward. Several grabbed his hands. Several put their hands on his shoulders. Halifax later wrote in his diary that he could see Churchill was not to be moved. The negotiation never happened. Britain never asked. On June 18, 1940, the 125th anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo, Churchill spoke to Parliament about what lay ahead. If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour. Through July, August, and September 1940, the Luftwaffe attacked Britain's airfields. RAF pilots flew multiple sorties a day. Some were teenagers. Some had never fired at another aircraft. Before the summer began, the Battle of Britain peaked on the 15th of September 1940. Churchill visited the Fighter Command Operations Room and watched every RAF squadron commit to the fight. He asked, "What reserves have we?" The answer was, none. 2 days later, Hitler canceled the invasion. The Battle of Britain was won and lost. In that underground operations room, as much as in the sky above it, women of the WAAF plotted the position of every German and British aircraft in real time on the table below. Churchill watched from above in silence. He later told his doctor that moment, watching every reserve commit to the battle, knowing there was nothing left if they failed. was the most frightening moment of the war. He did not show it to the men in the room. He never showed it. The Blitz began in September 1940. 57 consecutive nights of bombing on London. 43,000 British civilians would die. St. Paul's Cathedral survived. A photograph of its dome rising above the flames became the symbol of everything Churchill was trying to say in words. Britain was still there. Churchill walked through bombed London. He visited the sites of the worst damage. He talked to the people who had lost everything. They cheered him. He cried. He turned away from them when he did. He did not want them to see. Thousands of Londoners slept in the WWII, underground stations every night during the Blitz. The government had initially opposed this. Churchill overruled them. The people needed somewhere safe. He gave them the tunnels. He slept above ground himself. In August 1941, Churchill crossed the Atlantic, in secret to meet Roosevelt off Newfoundland. He needed America. He had been courting Roosevelt for a year. The Atlantic Charter they signed was not the alliance Churchill needed yet, but it was the foundation for what was coming. By November 1943, the tide had turned. At Tehran, Churchill sat beside Roosevelt and Stalin, three men who disagreed about almost everything, except the immediate necessity of destroying Hitler. Churchill was the only one of the three who had been fighting since 1939. Before Alamein, we never had a victory. After Alamein, we never had a defeat. Churchill said that after the battle, it was almost true. El Alamein, in October 1942, was the moment Churchill had been waiting for. Britain's army, fighting in a war Britain had chosen, had beaten Germany's best general. After El Alamein, Churchill stood in the map room and let himself believe, for the first time, that they were going to win. He had believed it all along. He had never said it out loud, because saying it out loud, before you could prove it, was not what you did. You just kept going. On June 6, 1944, Churchill watched the Normandy landings from a ship offshore. He had argued for this invasion for 2 years. He had been told it wasn't ready. He had pushed for it anyway. When it happened, he stood on the deck and said nothing for a long time. In August 1944, Churchill walked down the Champs-Élysées in a liberated Paris. The city that had fallen while he became Prime Minister was free. He had lived to see it. On the 8th of May, 1945, Germany surrendered. Churchill broadcast to the nation at 3 p.m. Then he drove through London. The crowds that lined the streets, hundreds of thousands of people, had been told for 5 years it was possible. Now they were living it. Churchill appeared on a balcony in Whitehall. The crowd below him was beyond counting. He raised 2 fingers. V, for victory. He had never promised them it would be easy. He had promised them they would win. He had been right. His approval rating had never dropped below 78% in 5 years of wartime leadership. Not because he told them what they wanted to hear, because he told them the truth, and then showed up every day to do something about it. 3 months later, Churchill lost the general election. The British people voted for a new future. The man who had saved their country was asked to leave. Number 10. He did, without complaint. He said democracy was the worst form of government, except all the others. He meant it. The door of Number 10, Downing Street, is the same door it was on the 10th of May, 1940. The same lamp burns above it. Churchill walked through it twice. Once when the world was ending, once when it was over. He had felt, on the day he became Prime Minister, that all his life had been a preparation for that hour and that trial. He was 65 years old. He had spent 20 years in the wilderness. He had been wrong about many things. He had been right about Hitler. And when the moment came, The worst moment in the history of a great nation. He was the right man, in the right room, at the right time, and he knew what to do with words. When he had no weapons,